Show me your original face, the face you had
Hello.
before your parents were born.
Today
I'm
in the garden, and I just wanted to talk about some things and try to clear my head a little bit. I think through this medium of speaking, I can maybe take some of the pieces of things that I've worked on and tie them together a bit, and that would be very nice for me to do, because instead of having this sort of dance that I have in which I think about things very piecewise but never feel all that much closer to any sort of destination, and you hear a lot of wisdom these days about, it's about the journey, not the destination. And I think this might be one of the cases when the destination starts to matter. So, I'd like to be a little bit, destination focused today. Where is this thought heading, and how can language be used to take these disparate things and sort of seal them together as a unit, as I don't know, to find what's common about all the elements, maybe. So I've thought a lot about things that can be constructed today to increase the quality of life, the depth of life, to sort of reimagine what education is, or even if education is needed at all. I think a very healthy community has the ability to learn without the structures of diplomas and that sort of thing, and sometimes without even professors. But that's not to say that those things can't also be useful. And I think that in the course of creating some kind of new pedagogy, which would be the word for that, I think keep all the options on the table and see what you can make of them. So lectures, seminars, workshops, just conversations, books, media, videos, and art and poetry and music, trips, field trips, all those sorts of things. But I think really the most is learned in one's immediate surroundings, if they're surrounded with a great deal of life. And I think a garden for today's setting is a good setting, because a garden is a cultivated area where there's quite a bit of life, but there's also pathways and an organization that allows for that life to coexist in a very in an easy sort of way. You could also say that just the wild way of nature is even easier. So we'll keep both in mind, because I think at times I've lived a sort of wild way of life, and I've learned a lot from it. But yeah, I just want to try to keep circling back to this concept of how can these ideas coalesce into one whole. So in the last video I talked about ethics, I talked about spirituality, beauty, truth, and meaning, which has been sort of the thing that resonated out from that video, I feel like, and someone sent me an interesting thought about it, and and the thought had to do with the writer. I can't exactly remember his name, Franz something. The book was Man's Search for Meaning, and he talks about sort of a different, instead of man existing for a will to power, as Nietzsche says, or a will to pleasure, as Freud says, that man exists in search of meaning. That's like the primary motivator for mankind. And I told this person that I agree with them because I think that is what a human being does. And I even went as far as speculating in my own mind, like perhaps that's what the universe does. Perhaps that's the law of the universe, is to find meaning. You could make, I could elucidate that idea further and make several cases for how nature is the way that it is in order to seek meaning, or some higher purpose of life, or but that's all very nebulous and unfounded, so I'll sort of put that in the back of my mind for a while. But what I did want to say on that is, I had commented, because he said, I had described what meaning might be, and then he replied, yeah, let's also call it some kind of value. And that gave me a sort of revelatory thought, which was, meaning is like wealth. And, but wealth is not like meaning. And we know that. We know that having wealth does not create meaning in people's lives oftentimes. In fact, it can often distract from it. And so I think about, how would human beings exist if they treated meaning as wealth? And while that other idea is on the back burner, I would say this one is at a boil. I would say that there is a lot that can sort of enter the atmosphere at this time with that idea of meaning being wealth. I've explored concepts of truth being wealth and concepts of beauty being wealth, wisdom. But meaning, it seems to even fit the bill better. And it's also so opposite to what we usually call wealth that it's sort of baffling. But how could meaning be wealth? Well, okay, maybe I should speak a little bit more about the other things that I'm trying to, the other ingredients that I want to bring into one soup. Whoa! That was an explosion of sorts. One soup. And I don't know the name of this soup yet. I just know what the ingredients are. And the general sort of, I know that the ingredients go together, but I don't know what the soup is called. There's, I think a big part of it is there needs to be spaces in the world that don't exist for a commercial purpose. I think almost all of the land in the world is privatized in a sense. And then the land that is public, it doesn't feel public. It feels controlled. It feels dead. In a way, it's like there's nowhere that a human being can really go to exist. They can only go to consume in some way, but one cannot just walk out into the country anymore. It's all fenced off and there's only the road. What I think can be done in this lifetime is to create, to sort of liberate the land in some sense, to acquire properties and turn them into spaces that good things can happen in. And those things might be related to art or music or education or just conversation, life, living, families, learning how to build things. And I think especially agriculture. I think that this idea of like permaculture and things like that, or just sort of Amish way of providing for oneself, I think is it's apparent that it would be very useful if things were a little bit less like the food supply sort of centralization is not working because we just get more and more unethical with it. We use more chemicals and we use more genetic modification, and we use factory farms and all these things that the PETA people talk about, or whoever they are, the climate activists and all that. But it's true that those things are killing us. They're killing life. They're not. It's not right. Because the things that we should appreciate about food is that the love that we put into it, and really everything. And maybe that's how these ideas that I'm still sort of listing the parts of, but they sort of also coalesce into how can we live in a more loving way, or how can everything that we do be made beautifully and thoughtfully and be conducive for not only our health but our well-being in the sense of the soul. And when the soul is well, life is very meaningful. And in a way, I think with these sorts of ideas about meaning that has been discussed, I think in a way what we're saying is that meaning is sort of like the highest good, or one of the highest goods, because it's that which makes life worth living. And I think love provides a lot of meaning. And I'm getting quite sunburnt today, so I'm going to try to move somewhere. Which way were you? You were this way. Somewhere shady for a bit. When my face peels off. Down here. Sitting on the dirt. So yeah, and I think it's like there needs to be some sort of new technology, new way of thinking, or new pedagogy, or something like that, to provide a more meaningful lifestyle today. But also, it seems like a lot of what needs to be done is to live more naturally, and to sort of, as human beings, get our hands in the dirt and learn how to make things ourselves. Because if we can chop down the tree in the yard and plane it and turn it into a desk, we don't need to go to IKEA. And if we don't need to go to IKEA, we don't need to have that big ugly factory over in wherever those people are from. Sweden, is it? And, you know, I think that the more that one can do in their own area in life, the less they have to disperse that to these sort of unethical providers of resources. And the more that we think conscientiously about what we're doing with our resources, with our environment, and you know, but then we start to build things by hand, and we start to make gardens, and we start to think about, well, what are children like? And then I think you start to decorate with strange things and sculptures and colorful things, and you know, just sorts of I don't know, just like baubles and stained glass and flowers and, you know, seesaws. And I think if you can imagine a sort of landscape that's filled essentially with toys and plants and animals and hand-built houses, well, I think that's a sort of paradise, not only for children, but for all people, because we are all children in essence. I think that this idea of like maturing out of the sense of play is actually like a death of the heart, and I think a human being should want to revive it. They should want a sense of playfulness in their life, and if maybe it changes forms into romance, for example, but I don't think we should try to construct the world for you know, people to have their hearts die. I think we should try to construct the world to be playful, and then we will stay young. We'll stay younger, at least. You know, I look around me, and the way I see the way things are designed, it seems so serious. But I think it's unnecessary. I think that we have all the means to just create and create and create and make all sorts of goofy, colorful things, and to decorate every, you know, forest or every garden or every yard with the things we find and the things we build, and you know, things we could paint and old junk we can find, and take the pieces and you know, put them back together in a goofy way. I think when you do this, you brighten up the atmosphere, and you make space for magic to happen. And I feel like the world is running out of magic, and I feel like it has the greatest potential ever for that sort of thing. I think that people in the Middle Ages, they wouldn't think to build a playground of the earth. And I think today we can. And it doesn't have to be about, well, I made this piece so that I would get Instagram followers, and so here's my signature on it. It's like, no, like, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to, everyone should just take away that fame and fortune mindset and just build whatever they can make in this moment, whether it's with the mind or with the hands or with the, you know, anything, to sow seeds and to plant, you know, little flowers of wonder. Because if everyone is constantly planting that idea to spark wonderment in the future, And it's like there might be periods where things are quiet, but always there's a bloom coming. And if always we're seeing these like sparks of inspiration that people sort of work towards and let simmer for a while, and finally they come to life, and slowly you see the world just filled with art, and you see the world filled with jam sessions and dinner parties that that last all night, and new friendships, and a thirst for wisdom, a thirst for exploration. And like I think the more that we treat life like we're in the Dead Poets Society, and we want to find the secret underground spaces, and we want to be inspired by Walt Whitman, and we want to be like a brotherhood, a family. The more that we exist in that way, that's like the antidote to all of this nihilism and all of this emptiness that's sort of pervading the world. And I think that there's only two things that can happen if that goes that way. Either people become mindless, or people become suicidal. Because only a wise person experiencing that, they would only want to be suicidal, because there actually is no meaning. There's no meaning in just living and dying. There has to be music, and there has to be catharsis, and there has to be art, and there has to be wonder, and there has to be a drive, especially for us, I think, to care for children once we reach a certain age. We have to have that, like, I want this life to have an even better life than my life. And I want to equip it with the tools so that it builds an even better life for its children, and so on and so forth. I think today we can really make that mark for humanity. We can put our heads together to like, how can we make sure that we're always on track, that life is always wonderful and always getting more wonderful with each generation. And I think the more that we focus on that, the less all of this political garbage and all these threats that the world makes, that we're doomed, the less they seem to matter. Because if you truly love, and you truly give, and you truly have put every best effort in, you're not even afraid to die. Because you know that even if you die, that love is still there, that you put out there. It's unfortunate, yes, but it's also, it's not a loss. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that if we truly put our best foot forward, and we truly open our hearts, we do transcend death in a way. And I know I'm sure I'm subconsciously afraid of death, but consciously it's so rare for me, except for when I feel like I have some sort of illness coming on that it's like, oh, my time is coming, or that sort of thing. But in the day-to-day, I'm like, all I can do is put my best foot forward and keep living as if I were dead, or as if I were about to die, because then if that day comes, all of those seeds, they sort of bloom. Either they bloom when I'm alive and sort of give even more life to me, and then I can give more life to others, or something tragic happens and those seeds bloom anyways. Maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but to me it does. To me it's like, I don't know, I have a wealth of meaning. I think that the motivation, once you're full of meaning, is that others have meaning. right? That's why I still feel a sort of mortal curse. Because I've had lots of meaning, but now that meaning isn't so meaningful because other human beings maybe don't feel that. And I don't know, I think that it means more to me, and this is like a thought that I was afraid to say, but I want to say it. I think it would mean more to me to watch someone else find meaning in life than for me to shake the right hand of God. And I mean that. Like, it's almost like I don't even need to know God. Because what's the point of that? Like, that I feel something meaningful, but that's not what's meaningful to me. I want to see a world where everyone is sparkling with joy, and not with joy, but with a zest for life. I'm just so tired of these faces that we've all been putting on, I want to say, and pretending. If there was a way that we could communicate with each other that was real, what dreams could come of that? I mean, that would be, if we could somehow dissolve that layer that's standing between us and each other. I think that would be maybe the most ideal thing, because then we could all really see where our hearts are, and we would know what the problem is, and we would know how to fix it in a way. So maybe that's what these places are that I want to construct, is a place where people can connect with each other on that level. Not as, doped up, not as these sort of like new age people that they just force a smile in a very uncanny way, and they tell you that you're the universe all the time, and I don't mean that. I mean, or someone could tell you that life is just shit, and you would like that they told you that. Yeah, that's where I would want to be. And I would want, there to be a progression out of that feeling that life is shit. But I would welcome first those people than the people that think that they're the Buddha. I would much rather be surrounded by people that can barely take it. And all this being said, I don't know. I think some effort can be put in on my part, but I've already been trying as hard as I can to think about this. So if you've watched this far, well, thank you, and that means a lot to me. Also, if there's a way that you can think of what to do without me sort of giving my half-baked responses to that, please let me know. Please write it out in the best way you can, or make a video, or make a piece of art, a song, a poem. Poems are nice because you can just jot ideas down in whichever way you want. What do you see? What do you think life could be like? And how do we get there? Or how would you describe it? Because I have something sort of on my mind, but in the past I've had also many other things that I've sort of forgotten about, or I've put very far away because I knew that I wasn't very close to figuring it out, how to actually make it so. The flies are in my pasta. Fucking assholes. Yeah. Well, I hope that we can put our best foot forward. I know this video was sort of long, and maybe it took me a while to my worry with these is that I have to do a little bit of rambling to get somewhere, and I feel like most people would probably turn it off before it gets anywhere, which is why I sort of congratulate you if you've made it this far. And I think that's why I'm doing these videos, is because I would hope that someday I can just start to talk about something without a, I can make a picture without wasting a few sheets of paper to sketch it out. I wish I could just get right to the first draft or whatever. Anyways, those are my insecurities. So I don't know, and I don't know what the next video might be like. I don't know if this is even a very good follow-up to the last one, and maybe I need to make another one to sort of connect these thoughts a little better. And I feel like I've brought up so many things that I've sort of strayed from all of them. So yeah, I wanted to do some thinking of how to tie it together. I think that would be beneficial. All right. Well, have a wonderful day. Ciao.
Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this. Show me your original face, the face you had before your parents were born. I am this.